if your connection, experience, sharing is Native-led, you're super safe. Not that Native people always agree with one another, you know, about what we should be doing or how, but if a Native person's like, come to the powwow, go to the powwow. If a Native person's like, eat our food, go ahead and eat the food. You know, if a Native person's like, come to my house for supper, then please, by all means. If they invite you to other things, you know, cool. You can follow their lead, and that's really a decision that they will arbitrate for you. If your experience is Native inspired, you know, like the Boy Scout Order of the Arrow, play Indian, you know, paint yourself with paint, problematic, thinner ice. And in between, there's some gray areas that are a little bit harder to tell. And so I recommend, like we all are like fish. We can see everything in our environment perfectly except for the glass bowl that confines us. And here we are swimming along, being good little fish, and bonk, we hit the side. And like, how come those people are mad? How come that didn't work? So to navigate, you need some sonar. And sonar is sound waves going out and sound waves going back. It's a constant conversation with other people. So I would recommend talking to Native stakeholders, people, community members, seeing what they have to say. It'll help you visualize something that you won't always see quite the same way. I do believe that we need some freedom to, you know, learn about and learn from one another and share with one another. Cultural sharing is good. And what's more problematic is the history of Native people being excluded from positions of power and influence and being marginalized, and people getting all their information from D. Brown, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and none of their information directly from the Native people, including the ones who were there and experiencing things. And it's the temptation, you know, and the enculturation that a lot of people from outside of the culture get to like be the one to speak first, to speak most, to control the narrative, to be extractive, where somebody wants to like engage in Native stuff to position themselves for money. Like, I'm going to write the book and I'm going to throw some Native characters in there because I think that's niche and it's going to sell. As opposed to something coming from the inside out. So, you know, like we need the freedom, otherwise only men could write about men and only women could write about women. Like, we need some room to move and to navigate. And at the same time, you know, if you're telling your story, you're in a powerful position. If you're telling someone else's story, the question why is a fair question, and there should be a good answer. And sometimes there is. Like, there's a white linguist named John Nichols, does lots of work with Ojibwe language. He's a wonderful guy. He was literally ceremonially adopted by Maud Keg and Mille Lacs. He's connected to community. He's never kept a single penny from his royalties. He gives them all to the Keg family. So like, he's contributing with a genuine, huge, you know, like academic interest in the language, but he's not being a financial profiteer, and he asks for permission with everything he does. You know, there are ways to navigate, but Native people have been taken advantage of by folks in positions of academic authority, financial authority, political authority, educational authority, like you name it. So we do have to be sensitive as we tread, but that doesn't mean there's no way to have healthy, positive relationships or get things done. Ultimately, we do need to get things done in mixed company.